Hello, everybody, and welcome to the podcast Blah Blah Land. It's been a minute. It's been a pandemic minute, which means it's been far too bloody long and just dragging on. And we don't know when anything's going to start or stop or carry on or go back to how it was a couple of months back or go back to how it was a couple of years back. I don't know. It's welcome back to the podcast, which I'm calling Season 2 now. I never had an idea to do Seasons 1, Seasons 2, Seasons 3, or series, if you want to get non-American with me. It's just I decided that when lockdown happened, bang, my last episode was with Tracy Richardson, which I recorded face-to-face with her just before COVID become a word that we all seem to use in our daily lives now, a bit like when Brexit appeared. COVID now becomes in a vocabulary every single day. It's going to be some baby's first words, which is really depressing for. But so I kind of had to stop the podcast, and I was like, oh, I don't know what to do. I can't go out, can't do this, can't do that. It's 2020. The idea of getting the podcast up and running fell flat. But then over time, I've reset, got myself sorted, and I've gone, do you know what? Let's kickstart Season 2. And I've managed to bag some guests. I've managed to talk to them via Zoom. Again, something that I was unaware of properly until pandemic came about, and everybody was just jumping on Zoom, thinking Zoom was the bee's knees and it's the only way to connect to people. So I thought, why not just get on Zoom and have a chat with people? So Season 2, I suppose, if Season 1 was the intro season, it was the positivity season where we just all got together and started off. Season 2 is going to be like the experimental season. It's the Zoom calls, no face to face, so no face masks, no hand sanitizers, literally just two people chatting over the internet. So I apologize if any of the sound quality in some of the episodes is a little bit bitty. That's because the internet sometimes doesn't like me. But no, it still should be good. You should still enjoy it. We've got some great guests. Today's guest, though, is somebody that was really, really inspiring to me. Somebody that I've watched. I found through a documentary on YouTube from Channel 4. Then I sort of followed them on Instagram and Twitter, and just in awe, really, of the positivity that this person brings to certain members of our society, of our human race. People out there that want to express who they are more, but don't feel like they could, so they need that little bit of a kick. This is kind of somebody that, if you like Queer Eye, then you'll love this person. It is Patrick from WOWman, and WOWman is a male to female dressing service, or not dressing service, makeup service, feminization service, which he goes around and he makes up guys that look like girls who want to, so cross-dressers, gender fluid people, some trans, or he explains it in there. So I prefer them to explain it, me trying to explain it to you. But he's a very positive and happy person, but he's very honest about it. Like, he will have his down days, like we all do. He'll have his good days, but he spreads good joy to the people that he works with, and obviously, and it's a bit of a tough time for people in the beauty industry. I mean, as of recording, it's still not up and running. I mean, obviously, once it's out, it might be a bit back to normal, but it's been a bit tough for a lot of people in stuff like beauty industries and stuff like that. So, talking to Patrick, he kind of explained about how, like, it's been really tough to try and get on with it through COVID, but hopefully you'll enjoy this episode. I enjoyed talking to him. He's very funny, he's very witty, very dry, and if you don't know who he is or what he looks like as a woman, check it out, because trust me, you would be amazed. And also, just somebody that I think we need more of, someone that's open, authentic, and helps people be themselves. So enjoy this episode of Blah Blah Land. So Patrick, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. I'm very glad to be here.
It's very hot.
It's so hot today. I think everyone's just been talking about non-stop the ridiculous temperature at the moment. And we British people love to complain about the temperature.
We do.
And we just love to talk about the weather non-stop. And I think we really, really enjoy talking about the weather. And because it's hot, everyone, I suppose, isn't it hot today? Yes, it's very hot. I'm very sweaty.
It's a good conversation starter, isn't it? I mean, you could be stuck in a room with anybody from any race, creed, sexuality, anything, and you'd always be able to talk about the weather.
Yeah, it's the one thing we have in common, I guess.
It's the one thing. We might not agree whether we enjoy the heat or not, but it's one of those things that I always found.
We always experience. We are all experiencing it though, so I guess that's that common ground.
That is it, yeah. And obviously today, we're doing this through Zoom, which is I feel like lockdown was sponsored by Zoom.
Oh, totally. Although I will say, I've only started Zooming in the past month.
Oh, so you're a late bloomer.
I'm a late Zoomer.
Yeah, late Zoomer. Oh, look at you. He's getting the jokes in already. So we're doing this on Zoom. And to be fair, I've never really done podcasts through Zoom. I did a couple through Skype. Very old school.
Yeah, I've Skyped a bit.
Yeah. Even at my work, they've taken Skype away because they just think it's obsolete. They're like, no one uses Skype anymore.
But I like the tune.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I like the little jingle. It makes me happy. It reminds me of, because my family live abroad, some of my family. So we would Skype many, many years ago before WhatsApp and all sorts of stuff. And you used to have to pay. You used to have to put money on it and then you could call people.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it kind of, it's quite nostalgic for me. I mean, I'm talking 15 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
When did my dad first? 2000. Yeah, he moved in 2000s. Oh my God, it's 20 years ago.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Now, when you say that, I know 2000 seems like 10 years ago to me.
Exactly.
So
Yeah,
that scares me.
It is quite frightening, isn't it? Yeah, I have a dad who lives in Luxembourg, and he moved there in 2000. So we used to Skype.
So you're used to doing sort of online chats with
internet. So, that's one of the great things about, one of the small good things about the world that we're living in now, is that we can also keep connected.
Yes, definitely. So the first season of this podcast, I had interviews where I tried to do as many face-to-face as I could. And I did that. I managed to do that. And then I had a couple through Skype. And then I had loads planned. I was going to go and visit people and do podcasts face-to-face. I was going to just record out have a coffee, literally meet up with someone and have a coffee and have a record. And then COVID come and fucked that all up. I couldn't even have a coffee with somebody. So it just completely took all my creativity, all my ideas, and it just threw them away. And I was like, oh my God, like the one thing I set out to make myself happy and exude some happiness and just get happiness out there and podcast about it, lockdown took it away from me. And then I thought, do you know what? I'm going to jump in and lockdown happened in March. So I was like, I'm going to jump right in and we're going to do online chats. Now, I'll be honest, as much as I'm quite a positive person, lockdown absolutely affected my mind so much that I just didn't want to have anything. I didn't want to talk to people apart from my close friends and family, like in there. I didn't want to go online and talk to people, and it just killed me.
Yeah.
And
no one has ever experienced anything like that, though, really, because even in times like war and stuff like that, you know, everyone could be together to an extent. Of course, obviously, a lot of people were separated, but I think there hasn't really been anything that we have in our memorable history where we've all been basically just sequestered away from each other. And that was the really, really difficult part. We are, as human beings, you know, we love to be around each other. As much as I'm a bit of an introvert and I actually quite enjoy my own space, at the end of the day, it is lovely to be able to spend time around people. And I still haven't been in a room with loads of my friends, and I'm still craving that so much. And I think that's one of the things that everyone really struggled with, was being around everyone that we cared about and loved.
Granted, didn't we? Going out into busy places and sort of just being around people and being like, yeah, it's just a normal thing to do, just being around people. And then when we took it away, you can't be around people, it become like, what do you mean I can't be around people? Yeah. And then, I don't know about you, but say about 2 months into lockdown, so it's about April, May time, did you find yourself watching TV shows and films and seeing crowds of people and thinking, oh, that's weird?
Yes, 100%. You're like, that's pre-COVID.
Yeah, pre-COVID.
She's not social distancing.
It
was.
That club.
Mind you, it's all in Manchester. It's just all gone back to how it was. It's like we are currently in a local lockdown. It does not feel like it. I've been in the city the past 3 days because I live like 2 minutes away from the city centre. So if I need to go to the shops, I have to go into the city.
Yeah.
And you would have no idea that we're in a local lockdown. It's so busy.
I know, and
crowds are back.
I'm quite lucky. I'm in the southeast, which is actually one of the areas they said it actually went down. So it kind of we can go out and have parties of 6 if we want to.
Ooh,
Oh, us. But it's been a really weird time. So I was like, I want to get the podcast up and running again, and I was like, let's do it. And I put messages out, and I remember I've been following you for quite a while now, for about a year, and I was like, the stuff you, and I've said this to you before, you kind of are the epitome of what brings out happiness in other people for the job you do. Yeah. So actually, I'll tell you what, if you explain what you do, because you'll probably explain it better than what I say, at least that way the listeners can actually understand what you do rather than me just saying it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So primarily I'm a makeup artist. That's my bread and butter. And I've been a makeup artist for 10 years now, coming up to 10 years. Although I always add an extra year on. So if you ask me in 2 months, it'll probably be 11 years. But it's actually probably more like 9. And the past 2 years, 2 years, I've been working on the side as my normal makeup job as I started a transformation makeover service, and it's called WOWman. And I work with primarily cross-dressers. I do work with some trans people, and I also work with gender fluid people across the whole gender spectrum, really. But people who are really struggling with gender dysphoria in whatever way, shape or form that it kind of comes out for them. And I help enable them to feel more feminine, essentially, and to look more feminine. And I guess that's kind of like me talking about it on the surface, but really what I do is I make people over, make them into their most glamorous versions of themselves. Everyone's idea of what that is a little bit different.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, there's a bit of a process and a routine to it of, doing hair, makeup, clothes, and all that kind of stuff. And it's like you said, I think that, yes, on the surface, it can look very superficial. And at the beginning of the year, I was quite lucky to do a little short series of documentaries with Channel 4 about it. And it was interesting for that to kind of come out to the public eye and just read, even though I tried as hard as I can not to read the comments, but see some people, and their kind of opinions from the outside. And I saw one woman saying, like, this is so superficial and narcissistic. All you're doing is making people, turning people into being more beautiful, and it's all, blah, 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 like hair, makeup, but that's absolutely not what it's about. It's about, for me at least, and I think for most of my clients, it's about lifting the oppressive nature of masculinity off their shoulders. And through that, I enable them to feel free, to feel beautiful, and to feel happy. And I guess that's what I do. At least I hope that's what I do. That's my aim.
That's it. I mean, because obviously I wouldn't do explain it, because if I explained it, I don't know, I think I would have waffled on and you'd have been like, no, it's not really that.
It is really confusing. People ask me sometimes, in like a soundbite, can you explain what you do? And it's really difficult.
Exactly. And you don't, and like you said, and I think you're actually spot on with, you don't want it just to feel like a superficial thing. It's like, because at the moment, I think it's very apt at the moment, because the beauty industry at the moment, it feels very left out of everything.
100% left out. It's cancelled. It's been, it's over. It's non-existent.
And for very, I don't know, unknown reasons. Like,
yeah, I think part of the reason is that they think, oh, well, you're touching people's faces, and therefore that means that the chance of spreading COVID is higher. And I can appreciate that to an extent, but I think that really, when you look at it, I am someone who, whenever I do go back to work, I'm going to have to wear full PPE, and I will be very, very careful. The majority of the people who work in the beauty industry, as part of their training, have to have rigorous hygiene training. I throw away every mascara wand I use after using on someone's face. I, constantly cleaning my makeup kit. Go to bloody Wetherspoons. People aren't doing shit like that.
No.
And that's the real kick in the teeth, And I think...
Yeah, I know. It's like I've had this conversation with a few of my friends that work in makeup and beauty, and they're the same. They get very irate about it because they just don't understand. They're like, no one's given us a reason. No one's given us a legit reason. They're giving us a blanket reason, which they appreciate, they understand, but they're not getting to the nitty gritty. They're like, so it's okay for like at the moment people to go out and get drunk and hug and break the rules because they're helping the economy, but you're killing the businesses which rely on people to go there.
Yeah, and I think the thing is as well, it's clear why this is happening. It's because the beauty industry is a female-led section of the industry.
Yeah,
and that's why it's in the it's been put on the back burner. It's blatant misogyny, and it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, don't get me started on that. I'm sure you've got your group chats where you talk about that every day.
Oh my god, don't. Yeah.
So, we can be feminists together and totally.
I was just about to try and show you the back of my laptop, but I can't because the moment I have feminism stickers all on the back of my laptop, and I was just going to go look, but I can't because obviously
there's no camera with it.
We're looking at each other through a webcam.
We are so. So obviously, your job, like we said, you make over people. Makeup artist. Yeah, I get that. But making over guys that want to be look like women, and not necessarily like you said, the trans people, transgender, but more the cross dressers, the gender fluid ones, the ones that kind of don't really know where they stand, where they fit, what bubble they're in, where society sees them. And like I said, I come across your one through the Channel 4 documentaries. Yeah, and it fascinated me from the first episode purely because I'm a massive fan of Queer Eye, so it had that vibe to it straight away. So I was like, look, anything that's going to make somebody come across and be happy just by giving them that little extra push is fine with me. I could watch that all day long. We need more of that in life. But when you were doing the makeup and you were making them over, you were talking to them and you were getting them to open, and they were telling their stories, and it's opening up people's eyes to a certain sort of area that society doesn't understand. The cross dressers, because I don't know how, I'm not going to ask how old you are, but we grew up knowing about the Little Britain age and I'm a lady thing.
Yes, I
think people ridiculed and laughed at.
100%. Yeah,
and it
cross dressing, it's almost like the last taboo. Yes, it's not that I'm sure there'll be another one afterwards, but rightfully so, trans people's issues and rights are being very much in the forefront of everyone's minds at the moment, and especially with the way that the UK government at the moment are talking about it, it's really important that we do tackle it a little bit more. But people still don't talk about cross-dressing, and I think that the majority of people, and I at one point held these views as well, the majority of people think that cross-dressing is a sexual thing. And that's why they don't want anything to do with it, and they don't want to know. But you would be amazed at how many heterosexual men want to cross-dress. And it's, do you know what, it's funny whenever I use the term cross-dressing, how many people correct me and tell me that it's like an old-fashioned term, because they still think that cross-dressing that it's an old-fashioned term because it's because they think of it as being like a negative thing, a bad thing.
Yeah.
But it's not an old-fashioned term. It is a term that you would use to describe a pretty much cisgender, heterosexual, well, not necessarily heterosexual, but a cisgender person who wants to wear clothes of the other gender. That is cross-dressing, and it's in its nature. And there are so many people who want to do that because they just want to feel beautiful and they just want to feel gorgeous and feminine. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
No.
And it fascinates me how it's still such a taboo.
Yeah.
And I think it's a taboo because in this part of the world, our society still demonizes femininity. And they think that... Sorry, go ahead.
No, carry on.
They think that femininity is this bad thing that should be frowned upon. Thankfully, less so these days. But even when you look at the most powerful, successful women in the world, the majority of the times they're powerful and successful because they adopt masculine traits, and that makes them more palatable. But then at the same time, they're criticized for adopting masculine traits, which is just ridiculous. But femininity is still something that I believe and I think that on the whole is looked down upon. And there's this horrible, nasty term that I really don't like, where people refer to people as being sissies, and that is a thing that often gets spoken about in sexual terms. And it's this idea that basically that being feminine is this like thing that's like derogatory and gross and disgusting. You're just a nasty sissy, and I can't stand it, because there is nothing more empowering for me anyway to feel super feminine.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually have on my hand, I have the word tattoo. I'm showing it to the viewers. They can't see it, but on my hand I have the word camp tattooed on my hand.
Oh, okay.
Because growing up, I was led to believe, and I was told pretty much every day of my life, not to be camp in the sense of not to be feminine. And I went to an all-boys grammar school. My dad was in the army, so I kind of grew up around a lot of masculinity, and I had never experienced a positive, any positivity from someone that was a masculine person until very, very late in my life. And I was always told that being feminine was a bad thing. And I think now I've got to a point in my life where I really embrace it, and I think that being feminine is the most important and beautiful thing in the world. Is that making any sense? Am I just going off on tangents?
I mean, to me, that makes 100% sense, because I get that. I've had conversations before. I had as a therapist lady that I went to see for years, and I actually got her on the podcast, Tracy, and we talked about the elements of masculine and feminine energy, and to be at peace and be a good person and understand, you have to have a very good balance of both.
Yes, I agree.
So, one or the other is going to leave you unbalanced. So embracing your feminine energy and your masculine energy is very important.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of the term man up. I'm not a fan of anyone that says, yeah, exactly. Like, just get on with it. I'm very into like health and well-being. This is what the podcast is about. It's about understanding people's mental health and understanding their happiness and their well-being. I'm very kind of like in tune with my gender. I'm not a bloke, but I can, doesn't mean that I'm a woman. And it's kind of that understanding that I like to tread that line of being like, well, I've got both energies, and I can still be a father, a husband, your co-worker, your friends. I mean, it makes no difference. And that's what I got when I watched your videos.
Thank you.
And it was seeing those people just open up, and the fact that they're normal people. And the fact that they get
that's the key.
Not normal people, and it's that understanding of, but all they wanted to do was just balance out a bit of femininity, just look a little bit different. When you're a guy, right, you go out and buy clothes and that stuff. And no one goes out and buys clothes to look like shit. No one.
You'd think some people do sometimes.
Yeah. But people, you don't go into a shop. You don't walk into, I'm just going to name out it, River Island, or you walk into Top Man or whatever and go, find me the most hideous thing ever, just because that's what I want to look like. Guys want to look good. Yeah.
Of course,
they dress up. They want to wear. I don't go out and go, John, I'm going to get the most hideous top and wear this out tonight. Even though, to be fair, today at work I wore a nice t-shirt and I got ribbed by my co-workers, and I was like, "What's wrong with this t?" And I embraced it. I loved it. It's a lovely top, right? I'm not going to let anyone slag off my top, but we all do that. And again, it's like you said, that femininity side where women go shopping. Blokes talk about football, women talk about shopping. So the understanding of it is like, it's all aimed at the femininity side of it. So when a guy like comes to you and says, "Oh, I'm cautious, I want to transform me," the way that person goes, it's superficial, because all they're doing is looking at the clothes and makeup. But it's so much more than that. Yeah,
definitely.
Get that balance out. And maybe I got it straight away. Maybe this is one of the people that when I watched it, I got it. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people out there that got inspired by watching those videos, those documentaries.
Definitely were, yeah.
It helps that you're very good at makeup, at doing makeup.
Thank you.
That helps. It could be, it could be quite an awkward conversation if I was sitting there going, "Yeah, I watch the documentaries. You're not very good at makeup, though, Patrick." That helps. But then I think it's your demeanour and the way you open up. You're so inviting. You're so warm, and you've got your head screwed on. That helps.
I don't. Really don't.
It's like you've got it there ready so that they can unleash. But then
I'm glad that you think that, though.
Yeah, but then what obviously following you from that, I then watched obviously your YouTube videos, and your honesty in your YouTube videos is brilliant. Like,
good.
When you do your makeup tutorials, when you talked about your gender fluidity, everything like that, I'm just like, this guy's helping people, but at the same time, he's helping himself. He's finding his own happiness by making others happy. And it's kind of unnerving. Have you noticed a shift that since starting up WOWman or WOWman? We said this earlier. WOWman sounds like the listeners. WOWman. Have you noticed when you started that up, it made you open up a bit more?
So much. Yeah, 100%. I really, like I said earlier, I've always really struggled with my own femininity, and I started WOWman thinking, this is just going to be something I'll do on the side, and it has pretty much changed my life in a really short space of time. It feels really weird talking about something I haven't done in 5 months.
Yeah,
but back when I used to actually do my job, it's completely transformed and changed my life, because I changed my feelings and my opinions on femininity, and I realized that I wasn't the only person out there who felt like I did. Like, I first got into makeup and kind of fell into the category of being a drag queen. But I never felt like a drag queen, but I was like, yeah, I'm a drag queen. I didn't really perform much. I tried performing a few times. It didn't really go very well. And I would just go out dressed up, and I would do all sorts of crazy outfits. And I went on a real self-discovery. And all through that time, I just, a lot of stuff just didn't click with me. And it wasn't until I started doing WOWman that I realized, actually, I am a lot more like my clients who would call themselves or refer to themselves as gender fluid. And I was, that sound effect was how I felt. I was like, this is a thing. And I'd heard people talking about being non-binary and gender fluid and using pronouns like they, them. And I just kind of thought that doesn't really suit me, or it doesn't really fit for me. But the more I started thinking about it, and I realized, actually, my gender is very fluid. Some days I look in the mirror and I really don't like the fact that I look like a guy. And then some days I look in the mirror and I'm like, I love that I look like a guy. And then when I look at myself and I look really feminine, I just feel so powerful and amazing. And then some days I look and I feel feminine and I'm like, I can't be arsed with this. It's my gender is really fluid, and there's no one way that I do feel. And sort of, I don't think that people should give themselves labels, and I don't feel like you need to go out there searching to find a label that fits you. But it's crazy how when you do find something that kind of fits you, it's how self-affirming it can be. And it's made me feel much happier, much more confident within myself. And I've unfortunately just broken up with my partner for reasons other than how amazing our relationship was. But I've been in a relationship for nearly 2 years with a wonderful, amazing, loving person who really supported me through all of my gender self-discovery. And I think that was so helpful for me, because I've been in relationships in the past where they've not been so supportive of those aspects of me. And I think that really pushed everything down. And I didn't realize really who I was until I was with my ex, and he really supported all of those elements, and still to this day, because we still talk to each other and still love each other very much. But he really champions me, and I think having someone by your side who can say what you're doing is a good thing is really important.
Totally agree. And it must be hard, because you've had to go along that journey at the same time, and people have got to embrace it, and you've got to also understand the difference in your gender and sexuality as well.
Yes,
two different things, which people
definitely
do the same thing, just because it's that kind of society way of looking at it. But and like you said, but then you've got to appreciate, live the world of being with someone who, when you're like, well, I'm gender fluid, and they're like, but they're gay, and then it kind of causes the conflict. Which is obviously different for when you deal with the guys that are cross-dressing or gender fluid themselves, and they're in hetero
Yes.
relationships and that, and it's hard for them to experience that with their partners.
Yeah.
But again, the happiness I see you exude from them just is mind blowing. It's brilliant. It works. I'm sure everyone that can go and watch the videos will see that as well. For you, what makes you happy? What sort of things make you happy? If I literally just threw the question at you, just first things that come to your head, what makes you happy?
Other people's happiness.
Yeah, well, that's an obvious answer. Do you know what I mean? But I knew that was going to
No,
go.
but genuinely though, yeah, I think that I get the most satisfaction and happiness out of knowing that other people are. But then it depends on the person. I'm trying to think of a better answer than that. Wigs.
Little things like that, because it's part of your feminine
Yeah,
journey.
yeah. New wigs make me really happy.
Yeah.
And I am quite a materialistic person, and I'm not going to deny that because I don't think it's a bad thing. Because I'm also a person that cares very much about human beings. But my mother has installed this materialism in me. And also, I'm also a Taurus, so that doesn't help. But yeah, I do get happiness from like shopping and superficial. I'm doing bunny like vertical commas here with my fingers.
Yeah.
Superficial things like that. I bought a new dress today, and it made me feel very happy.
Where'd you get all your dresses from? Are you...
I don't get all my dresses from House of CB, but I did buy this one from House of CB, and I'm going to blame my friend Catherine because she works there. And I walked in to have a look, and then I was whisked away to the back of the room of the shop, and she was like, "Yeah, we'll sort you out." And then I'm in a changing room all of a sudden, and it was all very quick. And then I'm buying a dress.
There you go, done, dusted.
Yeah.
Saw you coming.
That's but most of the clothes I get from like fast fashion websites like Pretty Little Thing, Misguided, and those kind of places, because I think they're still very like on brand and fashionable. And with my dressing service, my belief is having quality over quantity. I don't ever want to be one of these people that's got like, I mean, I'd love to have millions of dresses, but but I don't see the point in having millions of dresses that are a bit crap.
No, exactly. How do you do on days when you are feeling more feminine, but it's too hot, or you've got something else to do? Have you found that balance right yet, where you can just go, do you know what, it doesn't matter?
Yeah, I think it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
because matter. I carry that femininity with me everywhere I go. And I think that for me personally, my desire to do my hair and my makeup and stuff like that is never really that strong. It's strong, and I want to, but there's never days where I'm like, oh God, I just need to do this. And I think that part of that is because I know that I can at any point. So if I really wanted to, I could. And also, I'm very lucky to be in a position where I live somewhere where I can, because for a lot of people who are gender fluid or cross-dressers or whatever, they might live in situations where they're not able to express that, whether it's because of their family, their loved ones, or whatever, where they live in the world. Or maybe they don't even have the ability to physically do it themselves.
Yeah.
Well, there's stuff, but I have, I guess I have every girl's dream. I have all the makeup in the world. I haven't got all the clothes in the world. Definitely haven't got all the clothes in the world, but because I have like the option and the ability to do that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, it does. Yeah, you're in that sort of, you're in that bubble. You got that opportunity to do it as well.
So it's like, oh, I can do this tomorrow instead rather than today.
Whereas, some of the people you work with, like your clients, don't have that sense why they come to you, and
exactly.
It's almost like a once in a lifetime opportunity, or once now and again. And
for a lot of those people, it becomes they become almost slightly fixated on this. I need to do this because it's a stress relief. It's a relief of pressure. It's like sort of almost like squeezing a very big spot.
Yeah, a big pimple.
Yeah.
Nice. How do you sort of maintain your own happiness? Like, what sort of things do you do to try and keep yourself happy?
I think I'm generally quite a happy person, naturally. I grew up in a very happy household. which I'm very, very lucky and very privileged to have. It wasn't as happy when I was a teenager. My dad sort of left our family I was in my early teens. So everything kind of flipped on its head. But I think that you develop the way that you are and your personality, etc., when you're very, very young. And I was very lucky to grow up in a very loving household, and I had lots of hugs and loves, and was always told that I was a beautiful and amazing person when I was a kid. And I think I think I still carry that with me, but I would be very naive to say that I didn't have down days. I would be lying if I said I didn't have down days. I'm having down days at the moment, obviously, because I've just come out of a serious relationship, and it's tough. You know, and it's difficult to kind of pick yourself back up again. But the way that I've learned to do that is I think it's very easy for me to say this because it does sort of somewhat come naturally to me, but I sort of have a word with myself and give myself a bit of a shake. But I don't think there was a definitely point in my life where I wasn't able to do that. And I got, I say this is probably about 3 or 4 years ago, I got to a very, very low point in my life. And, I had a mental breakdown basically. And it was, I can't remember what year it was, but it was January at some point. And I had a lot of pressure on me from a lot of different angles. And to try and sort of condense a big story, basically I was about to go to Thailand with my best friend. And the day before we left, I said, right, I'm off to go and change some money. And I disappeared.
Oh, right. Okay.
And I got on a train to Brighton. Now, the reason I went to Brighton is my sister lives there.
Yeah.
But I didn't tell anyone. I got on the train and I didn't change any money. I just got on the train because I couldn't deal with the going to Thailand was almost like the last straw on all this pressure that I had on me. But I went there and I sort of lost it a little bit, and I had a mental breakdown. I was in a very, very bad place in my life for quite a while. For a while. And then I entered into some therapy, and I spoke to a wonderful person who helped me a lot with a lot of things. And I realized a lot of stuff about myself. And I also listening to, this sounds really silly, but listening to podcasts and actually listening to RuPaul's podcast helps me a lot. And I've listened to RuPaul's podcast since they started airing it. And they talk a lot about I guess sort of what's the term, being present, and what people like Eckhart Tolle will preach and talk about, and that's that whole idea of mindfulness. Because I still to this day, but I'm a lot better than I used to be, I would live too much in the past or too much in the future. I'm constantly thinking about what has happened and what may yet be, rather than actually appreciating what's going on around me.
Like having some gratitude for what you've got now.
Exactly, yes. And actually realizing that I'm really freaking lucky. Yeah. And I'm in a really great place in my life. But I was always kind of trying to please other people in one hand and kind of forgetting about myself at the same time. And also I met this wonderful woman, Jo, who was a forensic psychologist and now helps train people to be more resilient.
Yeah.
She runs this company called Petros, but she's just become a very, very, very good friend of mine. And she helped me a lot with a lot of stuff, and basically all talking about mindfulness and all that kind of. Some people put it down to being mumbo jumbo, but it's helped me a lot. And I guess going in a really roundabout way, whenever I'm feeling like dog shit, I can't remember the terms of them, but there's 3 steps in the training that Jo does, in the resilience training. The first one is basically catch yourself on. Is kind of wake up and snap yourself out of this daze that you're in, because it's a lot of us sort of spend our lives in this almost like we're daydreaming constantly. Yeah. And it's like you're kind of everything's just happening to me rather than me happening it to them. And I can snap myself out of the sulk and the glum situation that I'm in, and then I can do all the other steps and start realizing that actually life isn't all that crap. And I've got lots to be grateful for. But that is very, very easily said and much more difficult to do.
Yeah. I mean, there was a video I watched, a TED Talk video with someone. It was like 10 minutes of mindfulness. It's and basically the whole point is just some days just having 10 minutes to do nothing, absolutely nothing, which is a weird thing to say because you think you've done nothing. You've done stuff. You've been scrolling through Facebook, you've been on Instagram, Twitter, you've been watching TV, you've been organising. Have you ever spent 10 minutes of just literally doing nothing? And that doesn't include sleeping, because it's still something.
But unfortunately, it doesn't.
Yeah, but it's just that understand of just sitting there for 10 minutes and just listening to what's going on around.
Yep.
Shutting down, just literally embracing that 10 minutes, because your brain will then start to be like, I think it's a way of tricking your brain to go, oh, so what we're doing now then? And it's like, nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, then we'll let me reset, and then we'll start again when you're ready. And that's what you need.
Yeah. Unfortunately, though, your brain doesn't usually do that. Your brain starts going off and going,
well, why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? So, no, I'm doing nothing.
You go, shh.
Yeah.
Stop.
Brain, enough. Just stop.
Yes, but I think that's one of the most difficult things to do, is to just be still and be quiet. It's impossible for a lot of people to do. And that's what Buddhists spend their whole life trying to do.
True.
And it's very, very difficult. One of the techniques that RuPaul will use sometimes is imagining, sort of meditating and imagining themselves looking down upon themselves. Sort of like, so you're sat down in your living room, wherever you are, and you're looking down at yourself, and you go, okay, that's me. And then you zoom out. And you go, oh, okay, look, there's my house. I'm sitting in that house. Then you zoom out and you go, oh, look, there's Manchester, and I'm sitting in the house in Manchester. Zoom out again, and you keep going and going and going until you've got the world. And then you zoom out even further. And you realize, actually, how in the grand scheme of things, the fact that you forgot to put your tumble dryer on 20 minutes earlier than you should have is really insignificant.
Exactly. And that, and I try to think of that way. Yeah. I also think that sort of the other sort of way of thinking that everybody's struggles is exclusive to them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's never a competition. So someone's grief is never a competition. I always used to hate it when, oh, there you go. Look, I'm getting a phone call now. Hang on a sec. Sorry about that.
No, got your back. That really scared me.
So, just obviously work calls and stuff. But so what I was saying about
forgotten.
It was saying to do back when, like, what sometimes it frustrates me a little bit when people talk about, when someone talks about grief. It's like, my nan died, and then someone has to say, yeah, I felt the same when my nan died, and you're like, look, right, I know what you're trying to do right now. I know you're trying to connect and do it, but all you're doing is comparing, and that's not what some people need. Some people just need to have their grief almost exclusively for them for that moment. They don't want to hear about, well, yeah, but nan's died, and my nan died, and I feel the same, and you'll get over. It's not really how people want to hear it.
It's so difficult to do, though, I think, in that situation, because we, as people, want to be able to understand things and relate to them. Mm-hmm. So if someone's grieving, you want to be able to sort of like grieve with them and relate to their grievance. That's not the right word, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
so I feel like you can do that by just listening and understanding. You don't have to compare it. Well, when my nan died, we did this and we did that. So I'm not saying everyone does that. Maybe I've just experienced.
No, I think everyone does.
But it's that kind of understanding that sometimes it's better just to listen, know in your heart that you've experienced the same. So then, instead of telling them and trying to compare it outright, maybe just turn it around and go, well, how did I feel when this happened to me?
Yeah.
So maybe I'll act how I wanted people to act around me. And then people then open up a bit more and people kind of accept it a bit more. And I think that's
definitely
kind of how it is.
I think it's the can't talk. The problem that a lot of people face in that situation is that everyone sort of wants to be heard slightly.
Yeah.
And that it's a very selfless thing to do, to just listen to someone. But it is also the biggest gift that you can give someone. I remember being on a Zoom call actually a while ago, and someone was talking about something in the room, and I knew that another person in the room had had very similar experiences and a lot worse experience, and they just listened.
Yeah.
And they didn't go, well, this happened to me, but worse. Yeah. They just listened. And I remember sitting there thinking, this is amazing that person is just sitting and just listening.
And that's it. And that helps. I always try to listen to people when they talk now. Active listening is so important. Because I used to just sort of jump in and make a joke and try and get involved. How can I cheer someone up? I'll make them laugh. Yeah, I mean, maybe I'll tell them a joke and say something funny or quirky, and then they go back going, doesn't matter what's going on in my world. Adam made me laugh. It's like, no, that's not. Sometimes you just listen, and I think people just appreciate it more.
Yeah,
they listen, and they just go, that person just listened to what I had to say, and didn't make it about them. Didn't necessarily make it about me, but just let me talk. Because we always say to people, talk. Like mental health is such a big thing. We always say talk, and then we never listen, and that's what really frustrates me. So it's like, let people talk and then just listen. Like sometimes listening is difficult because you want to say, but then if you just listen, and I think maybe that's why I love podcasts so much, because I can sit there and watch TV shows and that, but sometimes listen to a podcast, that's what I'm doing. I'm listening. And because I can't talk back, like people listen to this right now, they may be talking back to this because I do it sometimes, but then we can't hear what they're saying. And that's kind of how it works. And that's what helps, because it's like, I'm just listening to what these people are saying. And that's kind of what I love about a podcast. But yeah, so the main question was, how do you maintain your happiness? I can't believe, I don't know how we got here, but we got it. But
I don't know is the answer.
Well, no, that's the beauty of the question. Like, trust me, like the previous episodes where I've spoken to people and asked them that question, it's been interesting seeing whether people are very confident in their answer. This is how I do it. This is how I keep happy. Or people like yourself are a bit like, I don't really know. I just try lots of different things and do what I can. And if I can go to bed and wake up and think I feel good, then you maintain a bit of happiness. I don't think anyone ever purposely sets out for the day, goes, I'm going to make sure I've got the right up before I go to bed. That's my aim for the day. Let's go and do something that really winds me up. Well, no one ever really wants to do that. But no, exactly. I kind of like that people try different things, mindfulness.
Yeah, I like that question. It's a good one.
It's a very open question. It's very. I asked a previous guest that question, and her reaction and her answer was beautiful, because she was almost angry that such a question existed, that she couldn't answer it, and it was so beautiful, because she was like, such a great question, but I can't answer it because I just want to answer it, and it just shows that people are always out there trying to make sure that they're happy.
Yeah.
And like you said, and I think going back to what makes you happy, and you turning around saying other people's happiness is fitting for you. I definitely see that in you when I see you online. I feel like we've created a nice little rapport online, because what I always worry about when I message people online is that it's like, who's this person just pestering me now? Like,
no, I never feel like that. Oh, well, that's a bit of a lie. I do sometimes with some people, but I didn't get that off you at all, babe. Don't worry.
Exactly, and that's kind of how I feel like, and sometimes I try and be very smart like how I talk to people and get to my people. But yeah, I'm really, really happy you said you'd come on the podcast. And
no, it's no problem. My absolute pleasure.
And hopefully people listening will find all your work and find all your social medias and the things that you do, and hopefully coming out of lockdown, some people may listen and go, well, maybe I'll get in touch, and
definitely,
and we can work together. But it's it's been great talking to you, Patrick.
No problem. Thank you very much. Well, if anyone is interested who's listening to this in finding a little bit more out about me, if you type into Google WOWman or no, I'll tell you what, if you search for WOWman Patrick, my Instagram, Twitter, Facebook are all WOWman Patrick. And annoyingly, at the moment at least, my My website is wow-man.org. I'm trying to change it, but for some idiot had wowman.co.uk and .com, so all of those ones. But at the moment, it's wow-man.org. And if you're interested as well, looking at the Channel 4 thing, it's called Me to She. I didn't choose the name. It was much debate over the name. I didn't see what was wrong with just calling it Wow Man. But anyway, it's called Me to She, and you can watch it if you just type it into YouTube. It's on YouTube, but it's also on their Facebook and things like that. So it's dead easy to find.
Yeah, definitely. Have you got anything else like that lined up, or any ideas in the future lined up for stuff?
There were mutterings before we went into lockdown of some quite big things, but then the world went to shit.
Yes.
So a big question mark, basically. At the moment, I have no big projects. I have nothing exciting lined up at all. I'm just trying to pay my rent.
Just trying to get through lockdown.
I'll tell you, and the other thing as well, though, I might as well plug while I'm here. I do also have a Patreon and a YouTube. My YouTube is WOWman Patrick as well, but my Patreon, if anyone's interested in learning more about hair and makeup, predominantly makeup for feminization, I put very in-depth makeup tutorials on there. And as someone who worked as makeup tutor for 5 years and has worked in the makeup industry for 10 years, I'd like to think that my content is wonderful and fabulous. So if you are interested in learning more about that, you can go onto my Patreon, which is WOWman Patrick, and you can go and support me there.
I love it. It's almost as if you rehearsed that. I love it.
I've said it quite a few times.
It's brilliant. It's all at it. But no, that's perfect. But like your transformation is amazing. It's almost like you do what every person dreams. Like you look different.
Yeah, it's wizardry, is what it is.
And that's the beauty of transformation. That's what I love about it. It's the difference here. I mean, I think that's probably why a lot of people like drag race is the transformation, because 100%. Drag has gone from what it used to be to what it is now.
Yeah.
But when I saw you, I was like, that's not the right. That's his sister.
My sisters wish they looked like that.
Yeah. I bet they're jealous. But they're jealous. Like, no, we don't show our friends those pictures because we don't want them to be like, oh, you're the ugly sisters.
It's really fun. My sisters are both really, like, they're both stunning girls, but neither of them wear makeup. Neither of them are very glam.
Yeah.
And I just think it's really funny how that's worked out. Like, neither of them are particularly interested in fashion or anything like that. The older of my two sisters, probably more so, but like she lives in hot climates, so she's not bothered. I just think it's dead funny how it's turned out that I'm the one that
it buys the makeup.
Yeah.
But it spends all the money on the makeup. That's brilliant.
Two older sisters, and the younger brother is the one that's into all the hair and makeup and things.
Well, you are definitely an inspiration to a lot of people out there.
I appreciate that a lot. Thank you.